Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya
अच्छा,
Jaya Nityananda
मुझे रोशनी मैं
Jaya
लेटूंगी
Advaita
अपने आराम से।
Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. We continue reading from Caitanya Caritamrita Adi Leela, chapter 7, text 147. Emata Sarva Sutrera Vyakhyana Shunya Sakala Sanyasi Kahe Vinaya Kariya. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all the Mayavadi sannyasis thus heard the explanation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the basis of Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. They spoke very humbly. Everyone who actually desires to understand the Vedanta philosophy must certainly accept the explanation of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Vaishnava Acharyas, who have also commented on the Vedanta Sutra according to the principles of Bhakti Yoga. So, if we actually want to understand the absolute truth, understand things as they are, what's the absolute truth? We think so many things as true. We take so many things as true, but we have to understand, are they really the absolute truth or are they relative truth? It could be true today, but it's irrelevant after some time. But what's the absolute truth then? If we want to understand absolute truth, we have to hear from the Vaishnavas, the pure devotees, from Lord Chaitanya. After hearing the explanation of the Vedanta Sutra from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the sannyasis headed by Prakashananda Saraswati became very humble and obedient to the Lord, and they spoke as follows. Vedmaya Murti Tumi Sakshad Narayana Shama
Sorry, I
Aparadhi.
just have one question. So, is it still that the he's giving the teachings to the Mayavadi sannyasis, right?
That's right.
This is
That's right.
still in that context going from the very beginning.
That's right.
Okay.
Because he's given them so much evidence from the Vedanta Sutra
Hmm.
explaining the truth. Yes.
Okay. So
Shama
then finally he
Aparadhi.
also said about the Pariyojana, Sambandh and Abhiday, and then they accepted, like it is humbly they were obedient, right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Shama Aparadha Purve Ye Kailo Nindana. Dear sir, you are Vedic knowledge personified and are directly Narayan himself. Kindly excuse us for the offenses we previously committed by criticizing you. The complete path of Bhakti Yoga is based upon the process of becoming humble and submissive. Humility. Only if we have humility will we begin to hear from the devotees. If we are not humble, we will say, oh, I don't want to hear from the devotees. I know better. Why should I hear? So at the very beginning, some humility is required. Some submissiveness is required. By the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the Mayavadi sannyasis were very humble and submissive after hearing his explanation of the Vedanta Sutra, and they begged to be pardoned for the offenses they had committed by criticizing the Lord for simply chanting and dancing and not taking part in the study of the Vedanta Sutra. So, Prakashananda Saraswati and his followers, they apologized to Lord Chaitanya. Said, we are sorry, that we are criticizing you, that you're just simply chanting, dancing. You're not studying Vedanta Sutra. Now we understand the truth, so you please kindly forgive us. We are propagating the Krishna consciousness movement simply by following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We may not be very well versed in the Vedanta Sutra aphorisms and may not understand their meaning, but we follow in the footsteps of the Acharyas. And because of our strictly and obediently following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is to be understood that we know everything regarding the Vedanta Sutra. So this is the way of spiritual life. This is the spiritual way of spiritual advancement. Mahajano yena gata sapantaha. Following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. We do not have to discover a new route. There is nothing for us to discover. The route, the path is already been given to us by the acharyas. We simply have to follow in their footsteps. We feel, oh, I'm great. Why should I follow in somebody's footsteps? I'm going to create my new path. We don't need to. We don't need to waste time. There is no new path. The path is already the one which has been traversed by the acharyas. We simply have to follow their instructions. So Srila Prabhupada is saying he may not completely understand the Vedanta Sutra aphorisms because in Kali Yuga, no one is qualified to chant the Vedanta Sutra. There is no qualified personality to chant the Vedanta Sutra in Kali Yuga. That's the reason we have been given the Srimad Bhagavatam to be able to understand the Vedanta Sutra. And there is no need also, as long as we follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas, following in the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is Krishna himself. So that is the path to perfection. Mahajano yena gata sapantaha. Se haite sannyasira firigela mana Krishna Krishna nama sadakaraye grahana. From that moment, when the Mayavadi sannyasis heard the explanation of the Vedanta Sutra from the Lord, their minds changed, and on the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they too chanted Krishna, Krishna always. In this connection, it may be mentioned that sometimes the Sahija class of devotees opine that Prakashananda Saraswati and Prabodhananda Saraswati are the same man. Prabodhananda Saraswati was a great Vaishnava devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but Prakashananda Saraswati, the head of the Mayavadi sannyasis in Benares, was a different person. Prabodhananda Saraswati belonged to the Ramanujacharya Sampradaya, whereas Prakashananda Saraswati belonged to the Shankaracharya Sampradaya. So they are two persons. They're different. They're not the same. One is Prakashananda Saraswati and one is Prabodhananda Saraswati. They're not the same person. They're two different persons. They have the same last name. Doesn't mean that all Mehta last names are the same person, right? Or any last name, Chen. There are so many Chens in Taiwan. Doesn't mean they're all the same. They're different. Similarly, Prakashananda Saraswati, he is the leader of the Mayavadis. Prabodhananda Saraswati, he is a Vaishnav Acharya. He was a Vaishnav, pure devotee. He was coming from the Sri Sampradaya, from the Ramanujacharya Sampradaya. And Prakashananda Saraswati was coming from the Shankaracharya Sampradaya. Prabodhananda Saraswati wrote a number of books, among which are the Caitanya Caritamrita Radha Rasa Shuddhanidhi, Sangeeta Madhava, Vrindavan Shataka, and Navadvip Shataka. While traveling in southern India, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Prabodhananda Saraswati, who had two brothers, Venkata Bhatta and Tirumalaya Bhatta, who were Vaishnavas of the Ramanuja Sampradaya. So here Prabhupada is giving us a small history about Prabodhananda Saraswati. Prabodhananda Saraswati, he's from South India, from the Ramanujacharya Sampradaya, which is called the Sri Sampradaya. He had two brothers called Venkata Bhatta and Tirumalaya Bhatta. They are Vaishnavas. Gopal Bhatta Goswami was the nephew of Prabodhananda Saraswati. Gopal Bhatta Goswami is one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. He was the son of Venkata Bhatta, the brother of Prabodhananda Saraswati. So Lord Chaitanya had visited South India, and during his travels of South India, he had met Prabodhananda Saraswati, Venkata Bhatta. He had stayed in their house. He had met Gopala Bhatta at that time. That time, Gopal Bhatta was just a small boy. Then later, Gopal Bhatta, after he grew up, after his parents left the world, he went to join the other Goswamis in Vrindavan. From historical records, it is found that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled in South India in the year 1433 Shakabda, AD 1511. During the Chaturmasya period, it was at that time that he met Prabodhananda, who belonged to the Ramanuja Sampradaya. How then could the same person meet him as a member of the Shankara Sampradaya in 1435 Shakabda? 2 years later, it is to be concluded that the guests of the Sahija Sampradaya, that Prabodhananda Saraswati and Prakashananda Saraswati were the same man, is a mistaken idea. So here Prabhupada is giving us so much evidence to show that these two personalities are different persons. It's not the same person. Prakashananda Saraswati was the leader of the Mayavadi sannyasis in Banaras. He was coming from the Shankaracharya sect. And Prabodhananda Saraswati is a Vaishnava coming from the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, from the Ramanujacharya Sampradaya. Anyway, the point is that even Prakashananda Saraswati and his followers, after hearing the Vedanta Sutra from Lord Chaitanya, they became devotees of Krishna. They became lovers of Krishna, and they were always chanting the holy name of Krishna. Their minds changed. Their minds changed, and they also became devotees. So we'll stop here for today. Are there any comments or questions?
No, but yeah, like how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also helped the Mayavadis to get towards the devotion, right?
Yes, that's his purpose for coming in the role of Lord Chaitanya. He wants all of us to become lovers of Krishna. All of us are actually lovers of Krishna. It's only our naiveness that we refuse to accept it. Each of us has love of Krishna in our heart. That's why Srila Prabhupada, following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is helping us to destroy this impersonalist idea which is there in our hearts. Yes?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.